Hey, we're the Link Sisters. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Trisha.
And welcome back to our YouTube and podcast related to our blog topic of the week, which is the connection between our modern world and our health.
So basically, you guys already know that we grew up really unhealthy. And then as we started making healthier choices and being more aware of what was going on, we learned about where our produce and our meat and all of our food was coming from, kind of the background information. And it's not a pretty picture. So it made us really angry, and we felt betrayed by everyone that was allowing our food to just be
shitty.
Yeah, crappy.
And hurt us and make us unhealthy.
Exactly. We're putting this in our body and we're trusting everyone to
but then we're resulting in health issues.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just something that we got really, really angry about.
We felt the negative emotions.
Yes,
but now we feel the hopeful, positive emotions.
Exactly.
And that's why we do want to share this information, and from a point of understanding that we do know how infuriating it is and how easy it is to just turn the blind eye because it's that annoying to think about. We know all of that, and we think of the future in a positive light.
Yeah.
And that's why we want to share this in a way that's you might have to feel the feels, but you're going to come out on a positive side.
Exactly. And you're going to learn the best steps to take forward.
Yeah. We'll tell you the problems and then what you can do as solutions, you know? Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is us as human beings, and we're all human. If you're watching and listening to this, you're a human being, and you know what?
Congrats.
We're all made of the same stuff, and it's the same stuff that was making up the humans in the hunting and gathering times. We hate history, by the way. We've never enjoyed it, but this is really useful for us now because our bodies back then were thriving, so strong, so healthy, no need for braces and things like that. Our bones were very aligned and strong. Everything was great except for infectious disease. So, besides the point, we were growing really healthy by living off of things that were locally around us and things that were natural in the environment. Back in that time, there was no transportation to ship different foods, so it's not even like we were getting this variety of tropical foods and foods from this country, and it wasn't even like that. We were eating things that were growing in the wild. We were eating animals that were growing in the wild and living in the wild. We were eating locally in season, the foods that were growing with the weather and the climate. So with all of that, we were thriving as human beings. None of these foods were made with chemicals. None of them were shipped far distances. None of them were altered by humans. Now, I'm not saying we go back to the hunter-gatherer days, but there's other ways to make changes so that we're not eating things that are really detrimental to our bodies and what they were designed for. As time passed, we transitioned into more of a developed world where us humans made a bunch of systems, and these systems were created to make things easier and better, and it created a lot of opportunity. It was a really good thing. We had things like agriculture of plants and animals and pharmaceuticals and the FDA, and industrialization is the biggest one. And I feel like all of those things were created with good intentions, but in the long term, they've created health problems. But they weren't presented that way. So when they first came about, they were thought of as super great, and they were used heavily, and now we're kind of seeing the issues with them. So we're going to talk a little bit about them and put them into more basic language that everyone can understand because, yeah.
Okay, so first we're going to talk about the agriculture of plants, aka the farming of plants. So way back in the hunter-gatherer time period, we had ecosystems that were thriving with plants growing wherever and animals and humans all coexisting in the same ecosystem, and everything was great. And then we decided with this industrialization period and everything that we are going to have certain plants grow in certain sections with no involvement of humans and animals and whatever.
So when we started to make fields for certain crops, for example, we decided to make cornfields. This field is specifically for corn and nothing else. Well, if you are the person owning that cornfield, you obviously are thinking of this from a business standpoint. You need to make profit. You don't want predators, aka bugs and animals, eating those things. And you need it to go a certain way. Okay, so because of this human need for it to go a certain way, we're now adding things like chemicals, like pesticides, herbicides, insecticides onto that. And more recently, we started to use GMOs, where we're genetically modifying seeds, like literally like picking traits that we want in the seeds. And I don't know about you, it just doesn't sound very natural or hunter-gatherer like. But the point is, those GMOs hurt the bugs that they eat, okay? They pop their stomachs like that. When we're eating them, it's not popping our stomach because our stomach is so much bigger than theirs, but over time, what is it doing to our stomachs and our cells and things that we really need to be working properly? So all of these things, they're not healthy for us to ingest, and they're used to make things run smoother. They're used with good intentions. But as we're uncovering that these good intentions they're not good enough. They're not working. They're hurting us. People aren't thrilled to share that when they're in that industry because they don't want to lose their money. And the point is, though, it's hurting us. It just is. So that conventional produce, that things that are conventionally farmed, they have those chemicals in them. They are in them. You can't just rinse them off with water.
That's what I thought. I thought you could just scrub them a little bit on the outside.
It is in the plant.
No. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the problem with all of this is that these chemicals and everything is making us sick.
Mm-hmm.
And the solution is to stop supporting the conventional farming. Don't give them your money. That is how you make change. So put your money towards local businesses, small businesses, farms that are organic. Look for the certified organic sticker on your produce.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way to...
You could even grow your own stuff.
Yeah, true.
We don't
start
do
a little
this
farm in
yet
your
because
backyard.
we don't know how to garden, but we're going to learn so we can share it with you as we learn.
Yeah.
So the next topic is something I feel really passionate about, and
Me
it
too.
is it is the agriculture of animals, or the farming of animals, which I'm sure was also intended to be a humane and great thing, but many of us know it's not. And if you're an animal lover and you're like, I can't even listen, that's not helping any animals. I'm sorry. Like, we really do have to acknowledge what's going on, and guess what? There's better solutions to buying these conventional ways of farming animals. So unfortunately, conventionally farmed animals, which is the majority of meat that is going around in our world right now, it's like a huge issue, but majority of them are not treated well. So essentially, you can imagine a lot of animals are crammed into small spaces, and they're not really given good lives. So their whole life is basically crammed in this like room, farm, barn, whatever, and they're not really exposed to the outdoors at all, and they're kind of living in their own feces, and they're sick, and they're given antibiotics to help them when they're sick. But guess what? The antibiotics are making them even more sick, just like humans. Too many antibiotics are not good for your microbiome. Whatever parasites that are not killed with the antibiotics are the strongest, most disgusting, and most deadly ones, and they're still in the meat. Just pointing that out. It's really a really bad thing. Like, conventional farming is, if you think about the energy of that animal, like, it's a bad life that it's living. It's sick. And then this is something I feel is one of the worst parts. They're not feeding the animals their natural diet. When you don't feed a species their natural diet, they will internally become different. Like, what they're eating affects how healthy they are. And then also, I mean, it looks and it tastes like chicken, but when it's farmed conventionally, it actually has a completely different nutrient profile, and it's going to affect you differently. So it can look and taste the same, but it has all different levels of nutrients and fats and things like that. And as much as it's like hard to even like acknowledge what's happening from a humane standpoint, it's also so bad for your body to eat those things. So the problem is that there's lots of problems with it, but this conventional way of farming animals is really hard on your body. It's not healthy for you. It's causing illness. The solution, stop buying conventional meat, and that includes free range, cage free. There's so many labels that I don't even remember them all.
Vegetarian diet.
Yeah, feta vegetarian diet. Like, I can't even think of them all. Like, all natural and like
no hormones.
Yeah, I mean, because you know what? Some animals are injected with hormones. If they say no hormones, it may mean that they're not injecting them with hormones, but that doesn't mean that all these other problems are avoided. We'll go more into labeling in our like future blog post all about buying meat. We'll get very much more focused on this. But the solution really is just don't buy those bad meats. What you want is pasture-raised chicken and hens or any poultry, and grass-fed everything else. So, like, you want your meat to be grass-fed. And it's important because that's their natural diet. And things that are grass-fed or pasture-raised and certified are going to be outside and living healthier lives. And I feel strongly about this because with my autoimmune disease, could not go vegan or vegetarian and completely eliminate meat. I really needed the healthy fats that come with meat and the vitamins and minerals. So I was kind of stuck with learning how to buy good meat, and it was really hard. I went through a big process of taking a step away from the conventional and towards the grass-fed, pasture-raised, because there is so much to learn about it. But you're looking for pasture-raised poultry, grass-fed beef, and we have a link on the blog, a website that's a database that will show you places and farms that will sell you their fresh, good quality beef and meat.
Because pretty much all the meat that you'll find in any grocery store is from conventional.
Yeah. There's definitely chances you could find some good quality out there, but it's really rare. Mm-hmm. You're not going to find it at Acme or Giant, unfortunately.
Or even Whole Foods. You might
sometimes,
find a couple, but...
Sometimes you can, but usually not. Yeah. It's really hard.
Okay, so next we want to talk about industrialization, which is just items and food being mass-produced in factories, sold in stores, giving us foods that are made with really cheap ingredients, trying to get the most profit. Mm-hmm. And it's usually like these huge companies that are making a ton of money by using really just not the best stuff.
Yeah,
especially
and
with
they're really getting us because they're providing it in such a quick and easy way. Mm-hmm. And especially Americans are just so addicted to that quick and easy. And it's almost like, oh, well, I can't do something else because how am I going to do that? Because they're so used to that quick and easy.
Exactly.
So this is a big problem, and something a lot of people are not aware of is the fact that almost everything in a regular grocery store is owned by a very small amount of companies. It could be anywhere from 5 to 10 companies that own everything in the grocery store. So when I say that, I want you to really let it sink in how much money these companies have. So there's so much money, and it is very common for these companies then to fund scientific research studies that support their ingredients or their product. And in our blog posts, we have links to some articles that have some examples of this, but you can easily Google it. There's many examples out there. Unfortunately, it's just not information that we can trust, and it's very clear. It doesn't take too much critical thinking to see that the foods that are packaged and processed and made through industrialization are actually really hurting our bodies and in the long term causing disease. It's just not a big secret anymore, exactly, as much as these companies are trying to make it a secret. Mm. So the problem is that regardless of what anyone says, it has become very clear that the foods that are processed and packaged, those foods are causing illness. They're causing symptoms or disease or just really bad effects on the human body. The solution, stop giving these companies your money, stop supporting them, stop buying them, and start to buy real foods. Start to buy fresh plant foods and start to look at the labels of the other things you buy and read all the ingredients and look for the organic label, look for the non-GMO label, but really especially the organic label. You don't want to be eating things that are just counterproductive to try and be healthy. And when you follow these standards, you're really avoiding that industrialized food and you're supporting yourself rather than hurting yourself.
And don't be fooled by the packaging. A lot of times they make it look like something's going to be really healthy and it's not bad for you and not a lot of ingredients and whatever. Turn it around, look at the ingredients list. Don't look at anything that's on the front except for the organic label. That's literally the only thing you want to look for on the front.
And that is called greenwashing, and it's like a huge thing right now because it's become popular to be healthy because people are waking up. So as people are waking up, these big companies are catching on and they know, oh, let's just write all natural. Let's just make the package like a wood color and it'll look really healthy and natural. We'll make it simple looking and we'll make, there's all kinds of brands out there that even like my own family and friends will buy and be like, Kristen, you would love this because it's all natural. And I'm like, let me see that. Like, it's not. And it sucks because everyone's fucking trying and they're making it hard. But now you're aware. You need to be aware. That's the only way that you are going to save yourself, protect yourself. That sounded so dramatic, but it's so true.
Save yourself and your family.
And seriously, as more people know how to make the right choices, those companies will not be making money. Exactly. Why would you give your money to them? Don't.
They either have to change and get better or be done.
Yeah, and the small businesses are actually doing really well. They're rising with more people that are informed making better decisions. So. All right, so another topic we wanted to talk about were the pharmaceutical companies, and we wanted to make it very clear right now that we are so grateful to have modern medicine and to have the pharmaceutical companies for times where there's a disaster or there's serious disease or there's serious symptoms that are really painful. All of those times we need that. We need drugs.
Yeah.
We just do. It makes life so much easier and better for us when we're in pain and when we're going through something really hard. It even can help us live. So we definitely are a huge support of that. But what we're not a fan of is the idea that's been conveyed that it's normal and it's healthy to depend on drugs as a first resort to a symptom. Now, a symptom is your body's way of letting you know something's wrong internally. And what we're doing when we go take an Advil, when we go take an antibiotic for something like that's like acne, you know what you're doing? You're suppressing the symptom. You're never getting to the root cause, and you're just letting more time go and letting it get worse and worse. Typically, these drugs are actually hurting you in other ways, and then however long later, you wake up with a worse problem. And I'm a prime example of this with taking antibiotics for acne, suppressing the symptoms, and then one day waking up with an autoimmune disease. And a big thing with autoimmune disease is it's caused by a really bad imbalance of your gut bacteria, which is worsened by taking antibiotics. So it's really awful to turn to drugs when you're having symptoms. When you're having symptoms, think about it from a holistic standpoint. And if you're not used to that, do some research. If you don't want to do some research, go to a holistic expert. Whatever you do, don't just keep like suppressing things, because there is no good ending to that story for anybody. Nobody's invincible. And I have to say, like, this is another system made in our world that could have been really good, but it got turned into a way for people to make profit. And at the end of the day, I don't think people are very upset that you're getting sick and that you're buying these medicines. It's not hurting anybody that's in that industry. I think they're needed at certain times, but I think they're taking advantage by pushing their medicines on us all the time. And unfortunately, I feel like that's something not everyone's aware of. I wasn't aware of it for years, and I don't want to be pushy at all, but I just want people to realize from my perspective that that is one of the reasons I absolutely have a lot of the issues I have. So the problem is that overusing those drugs and medicines for things that you should use a more holistic lifestyle change or diet change approach to is making us more sick. And the solution to that problem is stop turning to drugs when you have a small symptom or a small problem and start learning how to handle it in a more natural way.
Okay, so next we're going to talk about the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration. Their job is to kind of regulate all of the laws and everything about food, drugs, everything we've talked about pretty much. So the problem is that they're not doing a good enough job regulating everything. The solution is don't trust them. Do your own research, look everything up yourself.
Be your own advocate.
Be your own advocate, basically.
Read the ingredients for every single thing you buy.
Yeah.
Because essentially, I mean, they're doing a job. They don't have you in their best interest. They don't have you and your health in their best interest. So, I mean, there's systems in place, all right, but they're not keeping us from getting sick. So you can't trust them. Yeah. You're right.
No one's got you like you got you. So have you.
It's so true. That's like our favorite quote.
Yeah, love it.
Okay, so an overview of everything. These systems came along in order to make the world a better place and life easier and better for everybody. But what happened is problems slowly arised, and that was not noticed back when this first started. So say when this was all starting, the agriculture was beginning and industrialization and all these things that were making people so excited and happy about this new way of living. Say somebody came up to all of those people in the world and made an announcement and said, okay, so we're going to start doing this thing, right? And life's going to be so easy and convenient, but you're going to get a disease. And if you don't get a disease, then your children will. And if your children don't, your grandchildren will. And if your grandchildren don't, their children definitely will. If you don't get cancer, you're going to have some other kind of disease, or you're going to experience things like extreme weight gain and acne and this and that and diabetes and all these things. Like, you're going to have really bad problems, but you're going to be able to buy granola bars whenever you want. So what do you think about that? People would be like, fuck no. Like,
absolutely not.
The problems weren't stated. And over time, it became the absolute norm. So when you grow up, when you're a baby, you're introduced to these things. All the people around you are doing it. You don't question that. And we never question that. And why would you? So there's no reason to feel guilty, because this is what we're surrounded by. This was the norm. But that is what's giving these companies that cushion to keep doing it, where people are really uncomfortable with change and they don't want to change these things. They don't want to acknowledge these things. They'd rather stay blissfully ignorant. I understand, but guess what? We're all going to wake up with disease one day. I'm just saying, like, we just keep doing this. We are. Like, it's just, it's really sad. It's really upsetting, but that's why we're trying to share solutions right now. So basically, we went through all those negative emotions and we now are so positive about where the future is going. And there are so many businesses, brands, nonprofits out there that are moving us in the right direction. And there's so many people out there, you don't even realize how many people. There are so many people out there that are making the right decisions, that are being sustainable, that are being smart about the foods that they're putting in their bodies. They're supporting the businesses that we want to be feeding our grandchildren. You know what I mean? So things are changing definitely for our children, definitely for our grandchildren, and even for us. They really are changing. We're seeing more options in the grocery stores already, you know? So things are definitely changing. So there's totally hope. There is so much. Like, we have without a doubt faith that things are getting so much better. And we already figured out ways that we can avoid all of this negativity and all these negative systems. So if we can do it, trust me, you can. And we're going to share how we do it. So there's really nothing to worry about. So let's sum up our solutions.
Okay. So number 1, shop locally, organically, small business. Those are the places to put your money.
Especially for produce.
Yes, especially for produce.
And buying meat, good quality meat from a farmer or a local business that you trust and you can talk to them about their practices, or finding meat that's certified to be grass-fed or pasture-raised, as well as also buying from local small businesses, real foods, checking the ingredients of everything that you buy at the store. Using holistic and natural methods of healing rather than turning to drugs all the time, especially for small issues.
Whenever you can. being your own advocate. Trust yourself, not some administration that's not doing a good job.
Yeah. Basically, no one's got you like you got you. And together, we can make better decisions for us and our families. And your decisions aren't just affecting you. Like, the world is freaking changing. You are changing the world. Like,
exactly. You have more power than you realize.
Totally. So we hope you enjoyed this.
Yes.
And we really feel really passionate about these things. So we're really excited about this. And if you like it, let us know, because, like, we really don't know what people like. And, like, I don't know. But if you could, like, share it with people that you know care about it. Subscribe to us on YouTube, you know, at The Link Sisters. And follow along with our blog at thelinksisters.com, and that has all of our information. That's our website. And our new podcast, please share that with other people.
The Link Sisters.
Yeah, the Link Sisters podcast. We're excited about beginning this too.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Keep shining.